Maybe they asked me in shifts. Well, it doesn't matter because we're moving.
Four shifts. I mean, I wonder where they got it from.
How do you want to be?
So sweatshops.
No, that's my mom.
Really?
Sweatshops and child labor.
Nice.
So they can have money for their families. A lot of these people didn't have leisure here. So they're just trying to get money to survive.
Riot for better words.
Is it a riot exactly?
No, it's like protests.
Okay, say protest. Some people also call it a striking.
Yes, right.
Yeah. And what does that image tell us right there with that fist?
They're
Okay, unions. Also, it's showing the power of who specifically?
people together.
People. Okay, power of people, power of workers.
Didn't they want like lower working hours too?
Yeah, they wanted lower working hours. Because again, if you went to that other station, you saw their work schedule. They worked from 6 a.m. all the way till 12 o'clock at night.
So like strict work hours, how they had to
More like a set schedule, you know? Because I told you the average work week. What was the average work week? 300.
No, it was like 72 hours.
I said 72 hours for an average work week.
well that there's a
An average work week is 40 for Americans. That's an average work week.
Wait, today or like
Today's time is 40. We don't work 72 hours a week. Huh? 40 hours in 2 days?
24 plus 24. That's
Not
already
4 not 4 days. We don't work 24-hour shifts anymore.
And you
work
work.
8-hour shifts.
Yeah.
5
That's
days
about
a
a
week.
week.
Okay, are we ready to move? Go ahead and move to your next one. Today's time when I researched it, shillings equal to about 6 cents. Basically, yes.
That is sad. That is so sad.
So shillings equal about 6 cents in US dollars whenever I researched it. Also, if you look at it for our capitalistic business owners, which group would they rather hire? Okay, you could say young males. Because who are those? They represent who? Their children. Why would they want to hire children?
Because they can work longer. That's a work
Okay, you could say they can work longer. They can work for less. They can work for less. But these are children. Are their minds developed the same way as adults are? They're easier to manipulate. Thank you, Jay. They're easier to manipulate.
Yeah, she probably should.
They don't know how to fight back or say, hey, I'm not going to work this amount of hours. And then also their time schedule, they clock in at 6:30 and they get out at 12.
12 p.m. or like 12?
So like 6:30 to like 12. 6:30 a.m. to 12 a.m.
I'm like 18.
Yeah, about 18 hours. Okay, are we ready to move? You go ahead and move to your next one.
These are their
Yeah, I want to make factory.
You said bad dental work?
or not dental work, but I mean like
Bad health.
bad health overall. So
What is that picture right there? That's a represent what body part
he
is
is an
that?
overbody.
Okay, those are lungs. Those are black.
black
So
because they're
during this time period, what would cause somebody to have black lungs?
smoking.
Pollution.
Oh,
That
yeah.
wasn't my first thought. Smoking.
Cold?
Oh.
Oh, working
So you
with
could like diet.
coal miners. What all that black tar
Not
getting into
dental
their
work,
lungs.
but I mean like their teeth are bad. It's like an overbite.
Those are just that's a deformity.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because they were working with toxic substances. So over time they had bad ventilation. So all of the material was getting into their skin, causing decay of things, messing with their health.
So working conditions.
Okay, we're ready to move. This is your last one, should be. Go ahead and move to your last one.
Where's she yelling? Vivian.
So you could argue for both. 'Cause what did you just see in number 3? They were smoking. That was little children. So you could argue both of them, both responses.
Okay, wait, that's 4.
And you're sure you put it in the right box? Yeah, so you could technically argue that both of those reasons are for. What do you think would have caused the deformity? Toxins? So like materials, like they were working with like maybe flammable materials. Because that's
Why is like,
Because she don't brush her teeth.
no, I'm not talking about her teeth. I'm talking about like how her chin is like.
she doesn't have her mouth. It's because kind of how her mouth is formed from the decay.
Oh.
The decay of things like the toxic substances you were saying. The health conditions of these people deteriorated over time. Because the average life expectancy, you expected to survive until you were 30. So that was when you were expected to survive. Have a little longer.
Yeah, we got way more survivors.
All peaceful. Bro, under legendary, $2, 3 days a week.
All right, let's go ahead and move back to our original tables. You should have one more rotation, and that would be moving to your original spot. Okay.
Excuse me.
So we're going to go to this part now, the answer part. So before we get to the answer part, I'm going to listen to some of your inferences of what you thought were happening. Okay. So for exhibit number 1, some groups, can one group tell me what they saw in that exhibit?
I saw labor done by women because of like need for workers.
Okay, labor done by women due to the need for workers. Did anyone see anything different, Rosiah?
I also saw that they had children there too.
Yeah, you saw children also working in those places. So my answer, or what I said was going on in here, I titled it factory conditions. So on your sheet where it says answers, it has a title. So the title is going to be factory conditions. Then it has your description. You do not need to write this entire thing down. You're in 8th grade. You should be able to pick out just the important pieces that need to go in the description box. So you can shorten it or you can paraphrase it. You don't have to write every single thing in the description box. But I said factory conditions, and the reason I said that was because work in factories became really repetitive and exhausting due to mechanization. And business owners, they often didn't care about the conditions that these people worked in, creating unsanitary and unsafe working environments for these people. Here, can I move to the next one? Okay, so in present time, this is just showing you a little bit of an example of what present time looks like. In factory conditions, these people have their hard hats, they have their vests, they have all the equipment they need to work safely, which is what didn't happen during this time period. So it took having knowledge of this in order for us to come to this, where we have all of our equipment that we need, we have all of the things we need to work in a safe environment. Looking at exhibit number 2, what did we see in exhibit number 2? Landry?
These images show the 4 working conditions for all ages in tenement houses and
Okay, 4 conditions in tenement houses.
You just said sweatshops and child labor.
Okay, you said sweatshops and child labor. If I go to the next one, Lawson got it. It was sweatshops. That's gonna be the title of this one.
Actually, he got it.
So, the title's going to be sweatshops, because that's what was being pictured in those pictures. Those were a variety of different sweatshops. And a sweatshop is a factory or a workshop in which workers are employed for low wages and long hours. And they basically, most of them were in tenement apartments. Like this image right here is a bow tie kind of sweatshop. Is where they're creating bow ties. Okay, can I move to the next one? Okay, in this image, it shows how we still have sweatshops in today's time. If they're in the United States, they're illegal because we have laws against that in our country. But they are in places that are considered underdeveloped, like India. There's also some in China. You see, most of the items that you wear, they have made in China tags on them. So sweatshops, they still are in the present time. Number 3, what did we see in number 3? I'm gonna go for Phoebe.
child labor and children being overworked.
Okay, child labor and children being overworked. So, going into this one, it is titled child labor. And it states in the U.S. there were over 2 million children that joined the labor force during the Gilded Ages. They worked in factories, they worked in mines, and they worked in mills. They worked in very dangerous jobs, and they lost their childhood at an early age. Because remember, before coming into urban life and going into urbanization, what was the life of children like? Before us going into urban areas.
Something like farms.
Okay, they lived on farms, and they lived with their parents, and they most likely worked with their parents, but they were able to experience the outdoors. They were able to go outside and have sunlight, which you need. When they started working in factories, they lost part of their childhood, and they had to start becoming adults at very young ages. Can I go to the next one? So, in present time, if you remember, I told you now there's laws in place for you guys, for when you turn 16, you have to get a worker's permit in order to work. Does anyone remember the amount of hours you're only limited to work? 20. That's the amount of hours I said you guys could work legally. It's 20 hours. And then the Fair Labor Standards Act was created to ensure children were getting their educations, and that they were working. If they did work, it was in a safe environment. All right, and number 4. What did we see happen in number 4? Yes, ma'am.
Like for the effects of poor hygiene and like that they have to like conditions and stuff.
Okay, the effects of people from poor hygiene and from working conditions. Yes, ma'am.
You said maybe like disease and things.
Okay, how diseases affected them, Lawson.
We said working conditions cause bad health.
Okay, working conditions causing bad health. Rosiah.
You said for the black lungs, either smoking or working in the coal mines are all the toxins.
Okay, smoking or working in the coal mines. So I titled it Health Effects. And this was because you saw in those pictures, they were working in coal mines, factories, and these caused considerable damage to the health of American citizens. They had face deformities from different materials that they worked with, toxic materials. They had the black lungs from working in the coal mines. They were able to have cancer and other diseases, which they probably weren't diagnosed with during this time period. And also the average lifespan was you were expected to live to the age of 30. Can I move to the next one? Okay, and then exhibit 5. What did we see in exhibit number 5? Let's go for Molly.
I put that it was explaining what factory life is like because it used their wages and their times.
Okay, explaining what factory life was like and showed their wages and times. Aiden?
We said that, the low wages and the controlling atmosphere of the jobs.
Okay, low wages and controlling atmosphere. But also, I said that this was going to be called hours and wages. But the reason I said it was called hours and wages is because they worked long hours and low wages. And the business owners became more profitable and more successful. But also, with us knowing that these business owners were capitalists, and I go back over here to this chart right here. When I was looking at this chart right here, who would be the most, the people they would decide to work the most, or business owners would choose to work the most?
Like the 34 or something, the 30 something more.
You said this part, the 30-something? Okay, why do you say those people?
If they have it, they can work better, if they have it, they're not too old, they're not too young.
Cause like that's the highest age that you can live with at that time.
Okay, so the highest age that you can live. You got something?
Because they're in their prime, and so like they're flexible and like able to do stuff that younger people couldn't do and that older people weren't able to do.
Okay, they're flexible, they can able to do time. You said that you're still in this part, right? Where you, okay, Jade?
I think that I would want to make children work because they don't do any like understand, you know, looking, so they're easier to manipulate into working on the hours for lower pay.
Okay, so you said the children, because they would be easier to manipulate than adults would be. Okay, so in my brain, I was also thinking the children would be the one that they would hire, because if you look at the prices or you look at the wages, the children were the ones that were the cheapest to hire. But also, children could also fit into places that were really small where they needed them to go in. And they were able to go around and sweep up materials and things like that. Can I go on to the next one? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, and this right here gives you a diagram that shows the average worker's week. If you look as time goes by, we went from working 72 hours till we get to today's time where the average work week is 40 hours. But it took a lot of time and it took a lot of people trying to fight for us to get to this average work week. All right, and number 6, yes?
Factories were compacted, causing more people to die in disasters.
I hear you.
Factories were compacted, causing more people to die in disasters.
Okay, factories were compacted, causing more people to die.
You
Resiah?
said that this was, a active discrimination towards women.
Okay, an active discrimination towards women. Carson?
Effects of dangerous conditions in factories.
Okay, effects of dangerous conditions. Lawson?
I said, poor working and safety conditions led to 148 women's deaths.
Okay, poor working conditions led to 148 women's deaths. So this one's gonna be called the Triangle Shirt Waste Factory Fire, is what this event was called. And it's remembered as one of the most tragic incidents during the Industrial Revolution because it was preventable. The tragedy, it brought widespread attention to how dangerous sweatshops are. And this is where we start seeing people go into labor unions and we start seeing people start to reform and fight for laws to protect different workers. Okay, moving forward in the present time, the reason we have things like this exit sign right here, and we have all these routes to show you where we can leave in case of fires is because of incidents like that happened back then. A lot of people ended up dying, and then all of a sudden they decided we need exit signs, we need escape routes, we need these so we don't have an incident like that happen again. So this is the reason why in all schools or in any building you see an exit sign. This is why we have multiple exits due to things that happen like the shirt twist factory. Because those women, those were immigrant women who didn't understand English. They also were in a building that only probably had two exits. And also, why else would they be able to see their way out of that building? Okay, because of the smoke. Here, if we have a fire, we have these signs, and where do we go if we have a fire? Yes, it's down that hallway, down there we go. go out that exit. And then number 7, what did we see in number 7? Or what was represented in number 7?
Like union, like union and strikes.
Okay, you said unions and strikes.
Unions are created to protect rights.
Okay, unions are unions are created to protect rights.
Which is the power of the people to like go on strike.
Okay, power of the people to go on strike. I titled this one Unions. So these were formed by workers who were tired of being overworked and not having livable wages. Workers formed unions, and these organizations were used to bargain with their employers for better pay and working conditions. One of the most important ones being the Knights of Labor, which was a secret organization that was formed during this time. And then moving to the last one, which is going to be number 8. This one is going to be strikes and retaliation that's focused on in these photos, or in this photo. And it says, as more unions were organized, we start to see the rise of them across the United States. And there's a struggle between these organizations and the businesses that were ran by capitalists, and leading to events like the Haymarket Riot and the Homestead Strike, which were important incidents that took place during this time of unions and labor unions. Okay, so after we've done this activity today, would you say when you went back to your Kickstart that your definition of the origin of Labor Day was correct? Or would you say yours was a bit different, or it had different pieces missing from it? Would you say yours, the definition was correct? Or was you in the right direction for it? Okay, you were saying you were in the right direction for it. The idea of Labor Day was to honor those people who worked hard and went through what they went through during those time periods. So I want you to put these, put them in the middle, and you can go ahead and start. Oh, wait a second, I'm thrown off with time, y'all. I'm thinking y'all get out of here at 10:06 for some reason. So, for your exit ticket, I had this video that I wanted to show you guys that explained to you what Labor Day was. So get your packet back, that way you can answer your exit ticket. It says, as we go through this video, you're gonna listen to what the true meaning of Labor Day was, and you're gonna try to compare and contrast whether you were correct from your Kickstart. It's gonna be on the very last page. I'm gonna go ahead and start this video.
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need. With full business functionality.
Labor movement had to fight with.
For many Americans, Labor Day marks the end of summer and a day off from work to barbecue, vacation, shop, or simply relax. But what's the true meaning of Labor Day, and how did it come about?
Labor Day is a national holiday celebrated the first Monday in September by parades and a day off. President Grover Cleveland signed the National Act in 1894, making it a federal holiday during the height of the Industrial Revolution. Workers were being moved from the farms and pulled into the cities and the factories. They were working 10, 12, or 14 hours a day. Not only were adults working those hours, but so were children. The labor movement had to fight with great determination for a decent wage, to have some days off. And so our Economic conditions for working men and women are dramatically improved over the last 100+ years since Labor Day started.
Labor Day is special for us to really understand how important it is to have protections in the workplace. And those were fought by many of our union brothers and sisters. For example, the farm worker movement, led by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, fighting for the rights of farm workers to be given an adequate salary, and also protection from pesticides and
which is comparing your response from earlier to the true meaning of Labor Day.
The labor movement has provided many opportunities for working class families because it provides for better wages, protection, retirement, pensions, and also overtime pay.
Our history of activism has been the traditional union fight for better wages, benefits, and working conditions. But it's also been the fight for equal access to education. The future of work requires that we have a pipeline of qualified, trained, and educated.
Okay, so stop where you're at. I want you to put your packages, give them to one person in your group. And I want you to pack up, and as you come out, whoever has those packets, put them in my hand.